Hey folks, we are in Washington, D.C. today. We are in the Cannon House Office building. We're going to be attending a reception in honor of Congressman Doug Lamborn. He is from Colorado Springs area. He's retiring, and Israel Allies Foundation wants to honor him because he's been a great supporter for Israel. And I think you're going to really be impressed by him and others that love and support Israel. Let's check it out. The Israel Allies Foundation was so kind to recognize an amazing man with the Benny Alon Award. Rabbi Alon was a member of Knesset and a minister of tourism in Israel. Although Benny has passed away, his grandson was on hand to witness the ceremony. The award was presented to retiring Congressman Doug Lamborn by former Congressman and founder and chairman of the Israel Allies Foundation, Dave Weldon. Other U.S. representatives from both sides of the aisle were there, including Don Bacon from Nebraska, my friend Brad Schneider from Illinois, near where I live, and Brad Sherman from California. A representative of the Israeli government gave Congressman Lamborn a plaque that contained an actual piece of an Arrow rocket that had intercepted an enemy missile fired at Israel. Israel credited Doug Lamborn for saving Israeli lives, as Doug had fought hard to give Israel the needed appropriations to defend herself. Then Congressman Lamborn spoke about the importance of supporting Israel.
Is it any coincidence that America, which has blessed Israel, we were the first country to recognize Israel 12 minutes after it became a country in 1948, that we have been so blessed? I think we're the most blessed and greatest country on the face of the earth.
Congressman Lamborn, it's so good to see you, and congratulations on your retirement.
I appreciate that.
The Israel Allies Caucus and Foundation are mourning you're leaving, but you were such a good friend of Israel. And we also saw Israel presented you this really interesting plaque. Explain what this is.
Yeah, this is a real honor to receive this. This is from the missile defense folks in Israel, and they found a piece of an Arrow 3 missile that our tax dollars in the U.S. helped fund to shoot down incoming missiles seeking to do damage or death upon Israel citizens. And so this was a successful test, a shoot down of I believe it was Iranian supplied missile to the Houthis. And we shot it down, no lives were lost, and U.S. taxpayer dollars, and I helped initiate these programs and have supported them from the beginning, have done this in such a way that we save lives in Israel. And when you save lives, that's so important because being able to shoot down missiles means you don't have to invade the other country that's shooting at you. You shoot down the missiles, you seek for you seek for some way to stop the threat without having to destroy the other country, because you don't want to do that if you don't have to. But if they don't stop, then ultimately you might have to do that. But by shooting down missiles, that's a defensive action. It's not an offensive action. So that gives a huge arrow, you might say, no pun intended, that's a weapon in the arsenal that really helps Israel from a geopolitical standpoint. It's a defensive weapon.
And really, they're facing, just trying to survive in Israel. You have these rockets raining down on families, and a lot of these are indiscriminate. They'll just coming down anywhere. Funding those things was an important part of your legacy. And they honored you today with the Elon Award. And you had talked a little bit about knowing the rabbi and him pointing out things in Israel. So what does it mean for you to get that award today?
Well, Benny Alon, for whom the other award I received is named for, he was a landmark figure in getting the Israel and U.S. populations to work together, especially the Christian community in the United States. He saw the strategic importance of making sure that Christians knew about the threats Israel was facing and had the opportunity to get involved and be supportive. And so was behind a lot of what now is something we take for granted, but shouldn't.
Right.
That strong U.S.-Israel relationship, a lot of it is based on Judeo-Christian principles.
I talked to your wife a little bit at the beginning, and she was talking about loving Israel and being a Zionist. And I said, why are you a Zionist? And she says, because I read the Bible and I know Jesus. And to me, that's the obvious thing about anyone that knows the Lord and reads the Bible is there's a blessing. And you believe the blessing of Genesis 12:3?
Absolutely. Genesis 12:3. He who blesses, God said to Abraham, he who blesses you, I will bless you. Curses you, I will curse. And in you, all the families of the earth will be blessed. Look what's happening to these countries that have been fighting Israel. They're starting to be struck down. Bashar Assad in Syria, he's gone now. Sinwar in Hamas in Gaza, he's gone. Nasrallah in Hezbollah, he's gone. So it's still tough on the people of Israel, and they're fighting and they're losing lives. But we as a country need to support Israel.
And although you won't be in the halls of Congress anymore, I know you'll continue to support Israel. But what's your message to the congressional representative coming in after you and all of the senators and congressmen here in the United States?
Is that we need to continue supporting Israel. Israel is not a perfect country, but they're struggling to survive. And there are blessings we will receive according to the scriptures, if you believe in scripture. Otherwise, just do it because it's the right thing to do. But we need to be supporting Israel wherever we can.
Congratulations
Thank you
on
so
these
much.
awards and on your retirement.
Thank you so much.
God bless.
Thank you so much.
Jordana, it's great to see you.
Nice to
and
see you too.
what a nice event to honor Congressman Lamborn. So what are your reflections on the award and him?
The award is named the Rabbi Benny Alon Award for Political Courage. And I think it's so fitting that Congressman Lamborn is the first to receive it because, he has just been such a stalwart supporter of Israel throughout his time in Congress. He joined the Congressional Israel Allies Caucus in 2011. And since that time, there's never been an end to his support for Israel. There's no end to how much you can ask him to support Israel. He built his staff around, support for Israel. Everyone in his office just knows that this is a passion of his, and it's a passion that comes from, his deeply held faith. And I don't think, I mentioned at the event earlier, you can't really separate his support for Israel from his faith because it's so much informed by that. And I think that's why he really stands out, and that's part of the legacy that he's leaving in these halls.
So tell us a little more about who Benny Alon was.
Benny Alon was a minister of tourism within the Israeli government. He was the founder of the Israel Allies Foundation, and he was really one of the forerunners back in the early 2000s. Christian-Jewish relations were not what they are today. And he was a real visionary who saw the need to reach out to the Christian world. And so at that time, they established the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus. And he did a lot of the outreach then to legislatures, him and Josh Reinstein, our current president, to legislatures all over the world, and particularly within the United States. And Benny, as Minister of Tourism, said he liked to say he was the only Minister of Tourism who knew all of his tourists by name because he was Minister of Tourism during the Intifada. And tourism had taken a dive, and there was not a lot of tourists coming to Israel, but Christians, evangelical Christians, kept coming. And he saw that at Israel's darkest hour, these believers were, standing in solidarity in Israel. And he said, we really need to do something about this and reach out and build those relationships. So we're so proud to name the award after him and to honor his legacy. And we had one of his grandsons here with us this evening. So that was very special to have part of his family here.
So explain a little bit more about Israel Allies Foundation.
Of course. We began in 2007, but it really began with the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus. As I mentioned, it was the middle of the second Intifada. Buses were blowing up, cafes were blowing up. People didn't want to go to Israel. They were scared. But evangelical Christians kept going to Israel. And as I said, it was really a solidarity mission. My first trip to Israel was in 2004. And so many Israelis would come up and say, thank you for being here, because they felt very alone, even though their civilians were being attacked. In the news, it was like the world was attacking Israel, a lot like today. And the Israeli government saw that, and they said, we really need to reach out to Christians worldwide, Christian leaders, but also Christian politicians, and harness this support and build relationships. And so they established the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus. 2 years later, within this Congress, they established the Congressional Israel Allies Caucus. 2 members at the time, Dr. Dave Weldon and Congressman Elliot Engel. And it was the first bipartisan pro-Israel caucus. And it's really, the founding of the organization is on Judeo-Christian values. We don't have to convince anyone to support Israel. They're, convicted because of their values and what they read in the Bible to support Israel. And we call what we do faith-based diplomacy. So we want to be this kind of diplomatic iron dome for Israel, to stand with Israel when nobody else will. We've had a lot of cases in Europe and in Africa where countries and politicians who, they'll support Israel, but when there's a lot of pressure, they'll cave.
And there's a lot of pressure.
There's a lot of pressure, and especially in Europe. And even now within Congress, you have some elements on the far left, maybe even some on the far right, that are kind of pressuring on both sides. But these members, their support's not going anywhere because it's not about votes for them. Congressman Lamborn, his district is less than 1% Jewish. So his support for Israel, and there's a lot of Christians in his district, so he's really representing them in that way. But his support was just really because of, he said when he became a Christian as a young man, he read it in the Bible. It was God's land. And so from that time, he had been a supporter, and that's what he's done since he came to Congress.
I know Congressman Lamborn has made a lot of contributions to support Israel in a real, tangible way.
Yes.
And the Taylor Force Act, I think, is one major example of that. But so is his pushing for the appropriations for the defense systems in Israel.
Sure.
And he was showing me the piece of Arrow rocket that they presented him tonight. And I thought that was so cool. He said he's going to put it in his man cave. So how important was it that he went to bat for helping Israel with defense? And also that does also help America, I think. Because we're getting those technological advances. So what would Congressman Lamborn's maybe 2 most important contributions to supporting Israel be?
For sure, the Taylor Force Act. For those who don't know what that was, Taylor Force was a young man who was traveling in Israel, and he was killed by a terrorist. I believe he was a former Marine. And so his family came and they spoke to Congress about it. And Congressman Lamborn was the lead, sponsor of this piece of legislation. And basically what happens is when a Palestinian terrorist goes and kills Israelis, if they are imprisoned or if they die, the Palestinian Authority, who U.S. taxpayers fund, gives payments to those families. So if their husband, father, son is in jail, they will pay the family. If they've died, they will pay the family. And they call that pay to slay. And it is a huge financial incentive, for Palestinians to commit acts of terror. And so what the Taylor Force Act did was, if the PA continues with that policy, it cuts off funding to the Palestinian Authority. And it passed both in the House, it was introduced and passed in the Senate, and President Trump signed it into law. Unfortunately, current President Biden is not abiding by that. And so there was another congressman who's introduced a bill to try and enforce again the Taylor Force Act, but we hope with the incoming president that will all that will change.
Well, that's so important. And we talk about standing with Israel, supporting Israel. That's exactly what Congressman Lamborn did. And I know he'll continue to do it.
For sure.
But thank you for what you guys do and allowing us to come here and show our support for
Thank you for being here. Your presence here, coming as a pastor and as a Christian leader, it really makes a difference in the halls of Congress, because these members of Congress, they need to know that people like you who represent so many back home are standing with them and see what they're doing and support them. So thank you.
Thank you, Jordana. What an amazing man Congressman Lamborn is, and we're so glad that we've been able to be here to honor him and to let you know a little bit about him as well. Don't forget, the answer to all of the problems of our world and of ourselves is Jesus. He came as God. He came to die for our sins on a cross and to rise again. And he offers salvation to anyone who will believe. And we need to support Israel because Jesus is Jewish. The Jewish people brought us the Messiah, and God is not done with Israel. So God bless you. I hope you enjoyed today's In Grace. Don't forget to subscribe to our In Grace YouTube channel. And we've got other great resources at ingrace.us. And thank you all for your gifts. We don't bring in enough money right now to fund these videos. So if you would like to make a contribution, that means so much to us. Thank you, and God bless you. Hey, I hope you enjoyed our program on YouTube. We want to continue to provide you some great videos on God, the Bible, and how it all connects with our world. It would really help us if you would consider subscribing to the InGrace YouTube channel. We would also like to have you comment. We will try to read and respond to them. And we also need you to hit the notification button and like the InGrace episode that you just saw. These ways will help more people hear about InGrace and more people hear the gospel of grace.